cloak in there, huh? See the kelp over here?
Call check, County. Feel okay?
Yeah.
Okay, driver's ready to jump. Coming in 3, 2, 1. How's the picture? Roger, roger. Here's a gorgeous abalone shell. This is really sort of a pretty area right here.
Apparently it's very pretty down there.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm gonna suit up and I'm gonna come in and have a look.
Stanley. I am an underwater portrait photographer. The inspiration for this project was an image that I'd seen over the years. Computer-generated illustration of a old-school antique diver and a mermaid coming in.
It was a very cinematic, very evocative image that we wanted to create in reality using as much practical resources as we could to do it.
My name is Fraser. I'm a professional mermaid. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And what that involves is creating these amazing and functional mermaid tails and performing in them underwater around the world. What's so cool about this image is although it looks like the mermaid is coming in to have this intimate moment with the diver, what he can't see out of the corner of his eye is that she has a knife and she's about to cut his air hose. I knew Brett and Justin from doing amazing underwater photo shoots with them in the ocean and in pools in Los Angeles. And then they brought in this crazy guy, Josh, who is a commercial diver.
My name is Joshua Myers. I'm a professional diver, commercial diver, and I've been diving for professionally 19 years, going on 20 in about 6 more months here.
He was willing to actually get into a vintage World War II era dive suit to do this crazy concept of melding the mermaid and the diver in one shot.
It's not my normal gig, but it was something that I dreamed about. I dreamed about being in this heavy gear helmet, down on the seafloor next to a treasure chest, and I wanted to recreate it. And it was ironic that I was contacted by this group of photographers and videographers and a mermaid of all things, said, hey, do you want to help us create this one image that we want to try and create? Well, that was the image I wanted to create.
So logistically, this was quite a complex shot. We had Josh, who was in his incredible suit.
None of us had had experience with using a vintage dive suit before.
If something happened, he needed specialized assistance to get out of trouble.
Other commercial diver was set up to extract me if I were to become trapped on the seafloor in this heavy gear.
We needed a safety diver for Hannah.
He did a really great job of looking after her and making sure she was safe.
Those guys were pros. They were professional standby divers. These guys knew what they were doing exactly. They were calm in the water.
And this is why the team is so important. If my diver is not focused 100% on me and doesn't bring me that air, I only have, 30 seconds before I'm completely freaking out and dying.
And having Justin there as well, who was operating the BTS camera, but also kind of overseeing the whole thing, I think was just amazing.
And he was sort of hovering all around the scene. Like I would catch him to the left, I would catch him to the right, I would catch him above me, I would catch him below me. He was there sort of in the backdrop of the whole thing.
You have to let go and surrender into the moment enough to really, really trust the people that you're working with.
Teamwork makes the dream work. And we had a great team on this that was both accomplished divers to keep people safe, professional performers like Hannah, who had been in these situations before, and experienced photographers like Brett, who had worked in these conditions.
So this particular project was full of challenges.
Working in the open water environment is completely unpredictable, and having a team of people that can roll with the punches, adapt and overcome, and creative problem solve underwater is crucial.
There's so many different facets. You have the ocean playing tricks, you have the surge, you have the visibility.
Catalina Island at this time of year is frigid.
The borderline of what was possible for Hannah to be in the water without exposure protection.
She was down there in 58 to 60 degree water below the thermocline.
I lasted about half an hour, and that was the maximum that I could do. So we had to fit this entire concept into a very short amount of time.
She's a very talented individual, very driven to be able to do that.
Josh was really awesome in terms of just being this solid rock of a guy under the water that we could actually literally hold on to while the surge was pulling us back and forth.
had so many different moving parts that all came together in unison to create these images, and it was a really special moment.
We had two really unique elements to this production in front of the camera. One was the antique heavy dive gear, which Josh sourced and completely refurbished and made seaworthy. And then we had that married with Hannah's incredible custom-made tail.
So the tail that I've created is a labor of love. It takes about 6 months to make each tail. A monofin on the inside, covered by a wetsuit neoprene, and then thousands of tiny little scales hand-sewn all over that, and then hand-poured and painted unique silicone decorative fins on the outside of that.
This is the number 7 Kirby Morgan air hat in existence, the 7th one that was ever made. Most of the divers that get in the water nowadays, they forget. You couldn't just slap a BC and a tank on your back in the day and kick down to a reef. You had to wear this. When I first put it on just in my dive shop, the first thing that happened in my head, I said, this can't be this heavy and this difficult and this hard to have on your body, all this metal. But to put this on, stuff that's from World War II era, and go to the sea floor, that requires a special part in your heart.
I was in the water when Josh actually started to get off the boat, and seeing him climb down the ladder into the water gave me a panic attack. I felt like I was in that suit with him. And then as he started to sink under the water and I scrambled to kind of start filming some of this stuff, as he was dropping that 30, 40 feet to the sea floor, I was having a panic attack because I could see him inside that suit kind of getting adjusted, and I'm sure he was totally fine, but to me it was freaking me out. And then as soon as he hit the bottom, he just started running to the location. So he's in this suit running along the bottom. I'm finning backwards to try and film him and keep up with him. But that was just an incredible moment of seeing something I'd never seen before.
Being down there with Josh in this vintage dive suit was so surreal. I felt like I had gone back in time.
As soon as I heard the air hissing in the helmet, I was automatically taken back to like the 1920s or 1930s.
And strangely, having someone else to play off that was wearing something as crazy as I was made me feel much more realistic in my character. It was a really beautiful experience.
I was looking up out of this top faceport here, and I was looking up into the light, watching these divers just convert, this group of divers just drop down on me with this mermaid, and it was this really surreal moment.
I met him under there as the mermaid, and we had this amazing interaction.
If you can imagine being inside of this metal chamber, looking out of this tiny little window, and your mind still is questioning, like, what exactly am I looking at? What exactly am I seeing here?
Seeing it come together was just mind-blowing. In that sort of environment, I really love trying to be creative and trying to take shots that are something that are a little bit different and maybe something people haven't seen before. In terms of lighting, I didn't want it to look unrealistic, so what I did was I found an old vintage lantern, put a strobe inside that. So I gelled it up nice and warm so that Josh could actually hold in this vintage lamp as he was walking around on the sea floor. And when that would go off, it would actually light up him and anything else that was around. And it just created this really beautiful light and some surrealness down there. We achieved something that I haven't seen anyone else do before.
We went to every length to make sure we had the most vintage, authentic, realistic image ever.
We could have CGI'd this, we could have thrown this all together, but I think in terms of having something that was real and something that was tangible and something that we could come away from and feel really proud of, I think we really accomplished that.
To see everybody come together in unison like that, it just shows the potential that this team actually has.
We made the most incredible, beautiful imagery. These kind of images can really inspire and light some people up to the underwater world. Because what we love, we protect.
If I can help create a timeless piece of art, which is what we did, and that art inspires somebody's imagination or a child's hopes, then we did our job. If we get somebody thinking about the ocean, we're in turn also getting them to recognize that our oceans are precious and they've got to be conserved. This team has a lot of potential. We barely even scratched the surface. We have the ability to facilitate full-blown underwater production work. in the open ocean. I wanted to create something that I could remember in my dive career. I wanted to show the world that we could make an underwater production on the seafloor.
From this platform, we want to leap to doing an actual full short film.
The image evokes such a sense of story.
Where is this mermaid coming from? What does she want to do with this diver? What's their interaction? What's the danger? And what's the final outcome? So the photo shoot was just the beginning.
I think it's important to tell a longer story because that just stimulates curiosity. If you see the beauty in the ocean, you care about what happens to it.
We're taking the inspiration of the images and the experience that we had all going out there and doing this once to come back bigger and better.
If we can take this to another level with Justin directing this, we can actually create a moving image and a moving picture that will just have so much more depth.
Yeah, Josh's way of motivating the crew is to tell them how he almost died diving 6 times over. We almost didn't shoot the photo because we were listening to Josh's stories.